I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. I'm Karen Solheim. I'm GA retired, at-large alternate director on the GAE Board of Directors. So I get to serve from time to time. And I'm so glad everybody is here today to the Lunch Bunch sponsored by GAE Retired. It's great to see your names and some of your faces. So thank you so much. We are so fortunate to have as our chief lobbyist or our director of, Joe, I've lost your title. Director of
all things in general. No,
Okay.
I think it's program director overseeing communications, government affairs, and Schuyler Nunley aspiring educators also.
So Joe wears many hats besides just being our chief lobbyist. And I really do have to applaud him because for those of you who just joined, he mentioned he is sitting in his car near the Capitol because that's where he is night and almost, or day and almost night sometimes, doing the work of our association in terms of making sure we don't get any bad bills passed, or at least trying to slow down the train. And Joe is so gracious and shares his knowledge and expertise with a lot of groups in GAE, and we're really fortunate to have him here this morning to share with us. So, Joe, do you want to take questions as you go, or do you want to have people save them for the end, or what's your preference?
That's fine. You can ask questions as we go along.
Okay, good deal.
Am I coming through loud and clear?
I
Yes, you
hear
are.
you.
I hear you.
And if Alton hears you, we are
Okay.
in good stead. So
Well, I was telling Karen I'm actually in my car because this is so loud in the state capitol, and there's no place to find a private corner. So I just thought I'd do it from my car. Just a quick update, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them as we go along. Today is the 16th day of the 40-day session. So by next week, we will have consumed 50% of the 40 days allocated for the General Assembly session. There are shoes yet to drop, and we'll talk about some of those. But I want to start first talking about some good news. I think most people on this call are familiar with the work we've done to try to improve the state pension plan for our ESP members. You probably know this, but just bears repeating. Our school bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, custodians, and maintenance personnel, they are not a part of the teachers' retirement system. They have their own retirement system, which is called the Public School Employees Retirement System. And it is a shameful pension plan. The average monthly benefit for an ESP in PSERS is $290 a month. I know school bus drivers that I've talked to that are working 32 to 35 hours a week. They may have a couple of hours in the middle of the day between routes. So there is limited opportunity for a second job, and very unlikely that second job would pay meaningful retirement benefits. So we have a bill that we've worked with Senator Larry Walker from Perry, Georgia on that would there's a multiplier used to calculate the benefits in PSERS. So it's currently $16.50 times years of service. So if you add that up with 30 years, the most you can get in a monthly pension benefit is $495. And unfortunately, that $16.50 is capped in state law. It can go no higher without legislative action. So Senator Walker's bill eliminates that cap from state law and instead inserts a $17 minimum so that we can begin to increase the benefits there. And I realize that a 50-cent increase from $16.50 to $17 as a minimum is not much, but we will be free from the restrictions in state law that cap the amount that our ESPs can earn through the state pension plan that's offered to them. That bill passed the state Senate 49-1. Karen, your state senator, Bill Calzert, voted against it. I have no idea why. The bill was very popular among Republicans and Democrats. So that is a significant milestone to get that hurdle and that obstacle to raising benefits out of state law and increase it up to $17 at least as a minimum. The bill will go to the House Retirement Committee. I'm expecting a hearing on that bill sometime next week. But if you have a moment, and maybe we can do a grassroots exercise around it, I would really love if GAE members would write members of the state Senate and thank them for their vote for this bill. Like I said, it's an important first step in improving the benefits for our school bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians, and maintenance personnel. Tomorrow, there is another bill affecting the public school employees retirement system, and that is SB 206. This is also a bill offered by Larry Walker. At a hearing in Columbus 7 days before Christmas 2 years ago, we had asked the then chairman of Retirement Committee, Randy Robertson, if he would hold a hearing looking into this pension plan for our ESPs. And he did so. He had one on a Friday morning where, of course, no educator could possibly make when school's in session. So we asked him to have another, and he did so on a Saturday morning in Columbus, Georgia. And we had tremendous turnout from our members. I think there were 55 GAE members, many ESPs there testifying about the inadequacies of the pension plan. But many of them also testified and said that they were working in school districts that do not participate in Social Security on their behalf. And that really alarmed Senator Walker. And it's something that he's introduced is a bill that codifies in state law that ESPs must be offered the school system must participate in Social Security system for these ESPs or offer an equivalent plan, equivalent or comparable to Social Security. So there was a bill last year that would have done a study of all the school systems to identify which are and which are not participating in Social Security. And let me just say this, years ago, school systems had the option to opt out of Social Security. And the reason they had that option is because the TRS is considered a comparable qualified plan. PSERS is not comparable and nowhere near equivalent. So I believe under federal law, a school system must either participate in Social Security for these ESPs or offer an equivalent plan. Gwinnett County, for example, I think has a plan that would probably qualify as comparable or equivalent. But Larry had a bill that would have done a study of the school system to determine which are participating in Social Security for ESPs and which were not. That bill, at the end of the session, a bunch of other bills got glommed onto it. So the state employees retirement system, the ERS, which oversees the PSERS, I know I sound like alphabet soup today, but the ERS, State Employees Pension Plan, because they administer PSERS, did a study of school districts, and they found initially that 24 school districts are not in compliance, that they are not either offering Social Security to ESPs or they don't offer a comparable plan. So a bill tomorrow, again, Larry Walker bill, it's in Senate retirement at 1 o'clock, would just codify in law that these are their options: either participate in Social Security for ESPs or offer an equivalent plan. Another step forward in trying to improve the retirement benefits for our ESPs. Can't really talk to GAE retired about legislation without mentioning the TRS. Most of you may know that retirement bills that have a material financial impact on the state are considered two-year bills. So a bill would be introduced 1 year, it goes out for an actuarial investigation to determine the costs, and then it comes back in the second year for a vote. Last year was the first year of a 2-year cycle. So there are very, very few TRS bills out there. We did see one last year that would have restricted TRS investments in companies that have diversity, equity, and inclusion and type policies, but that's going nowhere. So right now, we really don't have any TRS legislation to talk about. Of course, if that changes, you guys will be the first to know. I mentioned I want to talk about a couple of good
Joe,
news
I'm gonna
items.
go back and ask you a question. Back to where
Sure.
codifying that PSERS people would have Social Security taken out. And you said TRS back in the day when this came about in Georgia was seen as a qualified equivalent plan. And so systems could opt out and not pay into Social Security. But in my head, and I'm alluding to the government pension offset, the windfall elimination provision, in my head, there are only 15 states that GPO WEP people, and so the other remaining states have their pension plan and Social Security. So I'm a little fuzzy on why TRS was thought of to be an equivalent plan and people could opt out. But if you don't want to go down that road, we can conversate at another time.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because there must be some threshold that makes a determination about whether it's comparable or equivalent. And I honestly don't know what that is right now, but that's something worth looking into. And while we're talking about WEP GPO, I know that it's super weak for NEA in Washington, and I think Lisa and Jeff Hubbard, Jeff is our NEA director.
Doris Glover is up.
I think they're going to be meeting. Yeah, I think they're going to be meeting with some legislators on WEP GPO. I haven't checked the latest number of sponsors, but we were close last time, and I think we may have exceeded. We have more than a majority in the House of Representatives who have sponsored the bill, which would tell you that if it ever came to the floor, it would pass because there's a majority of votes right there. But for some reason, under Speaker Pelosi, she didn't bring it to the floor. It doesn't look like Speaker Johnson is going to bring it to the floor from what I can tell, but we're still early in the year. So lots going on there. And Karen, there may be people in this call who are not familiar with the problem presented by WEP GPO. I'd be happy to yield to you if you want to make a few statements on that.
I'm hoping everybody has heard of GPO WEP. In the 1980s, school system in Georgia had the option of opting out of paying Social Security for education employees. And a lot of systems, the two I worked in did, so that the school systems wouldn't have to put in the Social Security wages match. And so it actually saved the school district some money, and some districts did offer a savings program where you could make up your Social Security wages. And so if you retired, you have to have your 40 quarters in to even be considered for Social Security wages. But if you retire from a school system that did not pay into Social Security, then you aren't eligible to go through and receive it, even if you have your 40 quarters in doing other things in your life. At this point in time, I'm in my 60s. I had a life and had some interesting Social Security wage jobs, but despite having quarters in, I will not receive any Social Security benefits. So that's the real short version, and I'll put my contact information in there if you want any more information. And I'll put also in the chat where we stand in Congress, in the House and the Senate with co-sponsors. So thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of the problem there. So the other bill I want to talk about that's a positive, and it's a GAE initiative, is Georgia does not compensate student teachers in any way. And there's a bill that we're working with the sponsor on, HB 148, that would provide a stipend or compensation, whatever you want to call it, to student teachers. We had a meeting with the bill sponsor, Representative Carolyn Hughley from Columbus, Georgia, several weeks ago, and 4 of our aspiring educators were in the meeting, and wow, did they just make a very powerful argument. You know, not only are they in school full time and have to pay the tuition, they're in the classroom student teaching virtually full time. And what I didn't know was that some of them are apparently under a contract with their education program or college of education that prohibits them from having a second job. Or so the hardships are real here. And that bill is actually up for a hearing today. There won't be a vote on it, but this may be one of those bills that, you know, takes a couple of years to gain traction, but getting the visibility out of a hearing today on that is really positive. I'm expecting a similar bill in the Senate soon on student teaching, but I did not really realize until I heard these kids talk what a difficult situation that is. And of course, you know, they get benefit from the experience of being in the classroom, but they're unpaid labor essentially. So we want to raise some attention to that. The bill, House Bill 148, contemplates a $7,500 stipend. There are a few changes we want to make to the bill. The stipend comes at the end of student teaching, given that some of these kids are struggling to pay for groceries and rent and all these other things that they've got. It seems like the money ought to flow throughout the student teaching period. But these are some of the most dedicated students that really, really want to be an educator. They feel like it's their calling. And we have a roadblock to that in the sense that we're asking them not to have another job, to work student teaching full time, to be in school full time, and to pay the bills for all those things. So I want to make you aware of that, and that there's progress there at a hearing in just about an hour. I want to talk about the 2025 budget. So our school year calendar and the state fiscal year calendar are concurrent. They both begin July 1st. Every year, the governor is required by the Constitution to introduce 2 budgets. One is called the mid-year budget or the mid-year adjustments. The mid-year budget is, in this case, for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. And they normally use it to make adjustments, for example, in education based on FTE counts and other things that may have come up. So they make adjustments to the budget. In that budget, in the current year budget, that's where you find the Kemp Christmas cash. If you read our alerts or maybe even the news, you saw where he proposed $1,000 bonus for educators. He said all school staff, but that actually is not the case. It's only going to it's going down to school districts for full-time benefit eligible QB funded positions. So, for example, let's say this is a media specialist in Cobb County. One may be paid by the state, one may be mostly funded by the local. Only the state paid person would get it. But what most school systems are doing is drawing down the totality of the bonus money that has been given them. And some of them are making the decision, well, rather than just give to some, we'll give it to all. So I know in Ben Hill County in South Georgia, they took the money that came down for these bonuses, which includes classroom teachers also as well, and divvied it up amongst all employees. So that bonus ended up being about $650 after they divvied it up. Other school systems, more wealthy school systems, are using local funds to supplement it, so everybody gets a bonus. But that should, now that January is over, be in the hands of those who are scheduled to receive it. In the 2025 budget, next year's budget, which we call down here the big budget, there's another increase in the salary step schedule for teachers, which is great. This is a $2,500 bump, permanent increase to the salary schedule. And there are salary raises in there, and this works in a kind of squirrely way, but there's line items for 4.1% salary increases for school nurses, custodians, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers. But again, it goes down, for example, for a bus driver, the money for the 4.1% raise comes down in the transportation part of the QBE funding. And because of waivers, that money could be spent on something else, or it could be divided among all bus drivers in this case, or if they can figure out who gets paid by state funds and who gets paid locally, they could do it that way. But this is a good example of why it's so important to be involved at the school board level, is to make sure they're spending the money that the state sends them for the purpose for which it was appropriated. Because of waivers, they literally can take money that is designed to go to for salary increases for ESPs or salary step increases for classroom teachers, and they can divert that to any other purpose they want. I often say they could take that money intended for educators and spend it on landscaping at the home office. Now, that would be kind of brazen, but it is a reason why we need to be at school board meetings to make sure they're doing what they should be doing when these monies come down. Good news on that, some increase there. Unfortunately, we have no state salary schedule for our ESP position. So, and that is a goal of ours, is to get a minimum salary schedule for ESPs. But so the money comes down in, as I said, this kind of squirrely way where there's no assurance short of political might to make sure the money gets where it needs to go. Do you have a question, Karen? You're muted. I can't.
I don't, but one of our other participants does, and she is unmuted, and I think we'll ask.
Good morning. I'm Renee Glass Dixon, and I have a question. I'm a retired school social worker, and it was recently brought to my attention. We're considered professionals and certified staff, but it was brought to my attention about House Bill 1064 as well as House Bill 1077, which House Bill 1064 is an amendment of the QBE fiscal year, they're saying 2027, for school social worker funding for trauma informed. And school social workers, many of us are LMSW, LCSWs, certified, licensed to reduce their numbers from 250 to 150. And school social workers ratio right now is still at 1 per 4,000 something. With the mental health needs of our students, and with the need for the House bill, how are you aware of these bills, and how do we advocate for more school social workers? How do we so that we can better serve the needs of the whole child, all the students,
so this
more effectively?
This is a good bill. Is it Renee, right?
Yes, it's Renee.
Do I get that? This is a good bill. Unfortunately, it's a bill introduced by 3 Democrats. And as you know, the House and Senate are both controlled by Republicans. The hard, cold reality is bills like this generally don't have much of a chance. They will occasionally let through 1 or 2 bills that a Democrat proposes. More often, what they do is take a Democrat bill and make it their own, either introduce a version that has Republicans on it. But it's a good bill, and it points to a need. Sandra Scott and Kim Schofield, the sponsors of the bill, have introduced a number of great things. Sandra has got a bill every year that really needs to be implemented, which provides additional funding for school districts that have a large number of students who live in poverty. She just has tremendous bills. One of the reasons why she was one of our legislative award winners this past session. She's tenacious. I will take a second look at it more detail tonight when I get back from the Capitol and see if there's anything we can do to support it. But yeah, that's a great idea.
My question is though, why I'm hearing that school social workers are not included in that bill. That is
I'll
only
double check
for
that. I
school.
mean,
Can you double check that for me? Because I want to have accurate information before I respond to my association. I'm a retiree, but I'm also a member of SWAG and SWA. And my concern is how to help support the school social workers and still certified and licensed.
yeah,
And how
there's so much that needs to be done there.
As a GAE member, retired, how do we do that? And how, and so I look forward to hearing more information about those two bills, 1064 and 1077. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
1077, I'll write that down.
And before we move on, someone has entered and just is identified as iPad. So if you could put in the chat who you are or quickly unmute and let me know, that would be great. Thank you.
Great, and I will definitely check on that and see what we can find out and see what status is. And yeah, there's so much that needs to be done in the area of social work, and the funding is just inadequate, and the student to social worker ratios are ridiculously high. A couple of things I want to mention. There is, as I wrote last night in our legislative update, yes, ma'am. There is a weird obsession in the General Assembly with gender identity, and there are a dozen at least bills that are offered by Republicans that would impact LGBTQ students. We have bills that prohibit the use of or restrict the use of restrooms. We have bills that would require schools and any organization that operates in loco parentis from having requiring them to have policies on pronouns. We've got books designed to ban LGBTQ bills to ban LGBTQ books. We have bills on restricting transgender students from participating in certain sports teams in schools. It's crazy. And the good news is so far none of these have moved, and I'm hopeful that there may be a spirit of humanity in at least the Speaker of the House. That these are not the kind of bills that are needed, that are actually harmful, beg your pardon? Racist? Is that what you said? Anyway, I just want you to be aware there's a lot of these bad bills out there that are potentially problematic. But again, none of them have had hearings as of yet. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I mentioned book banning. I mean, it doesn't just apply to LGBTQ related books. I mean, there was a group down here the other day that says tax dollars are being used to fund pornography in school libraries. There's crazy. There's a bill that would potentially put librarians and media specialists in jail. Neither one of those has moved yet. So we'll see about these social warrior type issues that are out there. Pre-K is another area that's getting a lot of attention this year, and there's some pretty good pieces of legislation out there. There's one that allows state funding to be used by public schools for the construction, maintenance, renovation of pre-K facilities. Some school systems have told legislators that the cost of building space to offer a pre-K program is prohibitive. So this would free state dollars to be used for that purpose under the QBE formula. There's a bill to reduce class sizes in pre-K from 22 to 20. There's a bill to increase the salary of assistant teachers and pre-K teachers. So there's a lot of interest in this area. Some of it also stems from bills last year on literacy and early childhood education. So those are good bills. There's another one that would allow sports betting with proceeds to benefit the state lottery. So that, if you went to an Atlanta Falcons football game, you could actually bet on the game at the stadium, and the proceeds, or 20% of the proceeds, would go to Hope Scholarship or pre-K programs. So that's somewhat controversial. I mean, it's got enthusiastic proponents and some pretty aggressive opponents as well. If you've been on a GAE call related to government relations, we talk about waivers all the time. Most of you should know this by now, but basically school districts are free to ignore any part of what is Title 20 of the Georgia Code. Title 20 is the section of Georgia law that affects public education, and they really, school districts, if they want to get out and not comply with the law, really all they have to do is basically notify the State Board of Education, and poof, they don't have to follow state laws. They don't have to follow state laws on fair dismissal rights for educators. They don't have to follow state law on maximum classroom sizes. They don't have to follow laws related to physical and health education, a whole litany of things. Some bus safety laws that are in there. So we have a sponsor in a bill this year on our waiver legislation, which would do away with some of these waivers, some of the ones that we thought, at least initially, would be the easiest for a legislator to grasp, like class size, for example. And that bill is, oh my goodness, all the bill numbers are running together now. 268, Senate Bill 268 by Nabila Islam Parks, Democrat from Gwinnett County. So definitely pushing that as well.
Joe, I'm asking another question. So aren't the legislators somewhat, wouldn't they be upset if they thought, oh, I'm passing all these laws, and then to no avail, that, oh, I passed them, but people can do stuff however school districts can do things however they want to?
Yeah, I use that when I talk to legislators, because basically, why pass an education bill? Why have an education committee? Why waste the governor's time signing this when they're so easily dismissed and ignored and waived? Lisa said once that basically you're giving local school boards veto power over the governor, and that's not the way the legislative process is designed to work. So I think we're definitely gaining traction there. We kind of knew it was going to be a couple of year project, even just educating our own members who weren't familiar with the issue of waivers, and getting them to understand how it impacts their life, why class sizes rise into the 40s sometimes when there's a state law saying it can't be. So that's another issue we'll be continuing to follow closely. The last big thing I've got, and then I'll happy to answer any questions, is school vouchers, private school vouchers. This is where they take taxpayer dollars intended for public schools and redirect it to benefit more privileged kids so they can go to private school. And we had a bill last year, SB 233, that would have literally taken money from the poorest students in the poorest schools in the state to give to more privileged families to go to private school. We were fortunate and worked our butts off to beat that bill, and we did. To pass a piece of legislation in the State House of Representatives, you need 91 affirmative votes. They got 85. We got 89, so the bill went down in defeat. That doesn't mean it's dead. It's kind of one of those zombie bills that can come back. There is a hearing today on another voucher bill that was designed to expand the existing voucher program that we do have in Georgia now, which is called the special needs voucher. And the special needs voucher has been on the books for years, maybe 15 years or more. And the purpose of the special needs voucher is to give private school opportunities to kids with medical disabilities and learning disabilities. So to qualify for a lifetime or for free private school tuition from grade 1 through 12, all you have to do is have an IE plan or a 504 plan for certain medical conditions. This bill that's up today, which is House Bill 579, it does a couple of things. One, it says that if you have had an IEP plan or a 504 plan in the past, even if the medical condition is resolved or the disability is resolved, because you once had a IEP or 504 plan, you can qualify at any time for state paid, taxpayer funded private school tuition. So details are sketchy on what's going to come with this bill. It could be, and we'll find out in an hour, it could be that an effort to resurrect more of a universal voucher bill or a much more broad-based voucher bill could be substituted for this bill in the House subcommittee. In other words, they may decide not to bring SB 233 back, which we defeated, and give it a new name or a new brand under HB 579. I don't know that for a fact, but I live in a suspicious world where anything can happen, and we may walk in that hearing and find out exactly that is 579 is now a completely different bill and much more broad in its application than the special needs voucher. So there is a big voucher bill coming. I'm a little surprised they haven't filed it yet. There may be some reasoning in the election calendar because we have 2 vacancies in the state house right now, both vacancies by Republicans, and both Republicans who voted for the voucher bill. So their margin was, they were 6 votes short last time. We did get 16 Republicans to join us and vote in opposition to vouchers, but they're going to need every vote they get if they have any chance of passing it. So they may be waiting for 2 new Republicans to replace or fill these expired or vacant seats to give them what they hope to be a majority. This is a big deal. I mean, we're talking about defunding public education. In fact, the bill was so egregious last year that for every dollar that a poorer school district got in state funding, $2 would follow the child that went to private school. So, and we know from other states, and we can kind of make some judgments based on the utilization of the special needs voucher. The people that used vouchers, 70 to 80% already have their kids in private school. So this is just like a handout. It's welfare for the wealthy, if you will. It's not, they like to sell it as some idea to help working class families and the kids escape their condition, but it benefits basically white male students and their families in Metro Atlanta. And if you're in rural Georgia, your private school options are limited. So you're watching money walk out of your county or school district to go to a private school in a neighboring area. So that's going to continue to be a big issue. We may have something to write about tonight after today's committee hearing. Karen, just last couple of things. By the way, one of those special elections is coming up February 13th. That's in McDuffie in Columbia County over near Augusta. It's a pretty Republican district. I think it'll probably be filled by a Republican. And then the chairman of the House Rules Committee just passed away last week, Richard Smith, from the Columbus, Georgia area. I haven't looked at the numbers on that district. Richard's held that district, or he held it for a while, but he's passed away. So there'll be an announcement of a special election there soon. Day at the Capitol, we've just had overwhelming success. I'm so grateful for y'all's interest in it and your attendance. We talk about politics sometimes, and one of the reasons that people are cynical about politics because it's about power and it's about influence and it's about getting things done. Day at the Capitol is a great way for us to show in force what we can do. In quantity, having a huge presence lets them know that we're active, engaged, and that will be a factor at the Capitol, and we will get things done. But it's also a tremendous opportunity for you guys to spend time with your colleagues, lobby legislators at the state capitol on the issues of the day. But Day of the Capitol, and Karen, I don't have the link in front of me. I don't know if you do.
It's already in the chat, Joe.
It's in. Thank you, appreciate it. That's Thursday, February 22nd. About 7:15, we'll open up for coffee and danishes or kind of a light breakfast. We will start at 8 o'clock sharp. We've got Superintendent Richard Woods joining us. We've got the Dean of the House. By that Dean, I mean the longest serving House member, Gerald Green, who's a former educator. And I think he might have been a GAE member. We've got David Wilkerson from Cobb County, who's one of our good friends on the House Education and the House Retirement Committee. Just a lot of really good speakers this year. I know last year we were thwarted by the fact that the session ran late that day and committee hearings cut back the attendance from some of the legislators, but I'm optimistic that we're going to have a good turnout this year. So if you haven't signed up, please do. It's going to be a great day. I'm excited about it. And there you have it. That's everything I know. All the news that's fit to speak.
Joe, thank you so much for doing this from the interior of your car, above and beyond at this point in time. And it's a nice car interior, by the way, so that's always a good thing. And I know you're going to.
It's a 2015 Hyundai.
Thank you for the Hyundai plug. I know you're going to the hearings that are happening right now. Do you have time for one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Patrick raised his hand. Patrick, unmute and ask, please.
Thank you, Karen. We had a great meeting yesterday, but Debbie Simons was talking about retirement for retirees, and what she says across the country, they're beginning to fall back on trying to do away with do away with defined benefit plans and substitute them. And so, do you have any take on how our Georgia legislature is feeling about privatizing our pensions? Any kind of talk?
I've not heard any talk this year. In past years, the chairman of the House Higher Education Committee, Chuck Morton from, I think, Alpharetta, has floated proposals to privatize TRS, or at least make new retirees or new educators join a 401k plan instead of TRS. But I've not heard anything this year about that at all, which is good. And we've got a growing number of Republican legislators, for example, that realize that TRS is a great system. It's strong. It's of all the state pension plans, probably the best run, and offers the best benefits for retired educators.
Because,
so not heard
Debbie
yet.
Was mentioning about Alaska.
Patrick, I'm going to interrupt. Joe needs to go at this point.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just am talking over you. And Joe, thank you very much for being here today. Be safe. Go and do the good work. And we will continue on for a few minutes without you. Patrick, did you want to make your comment about, you started out talking about Alaska?
I do kind of want everybody on here know that is the prime example of why 401k plans do not work, because they cannot get anyone to work for the government in Alaska right now because it has destroyed their retirement system. So that's something that we can be aware of.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to do some sharing right this second after I take a swig of water. We do have a lot coming up, and I just wanted to share with you, we have our speaker for next month. Again, the Lunch Bunch meets on the first Wednesday of the month from 11:30 to 12:30. And so we'll deal with dementia if we can remember to get this event on our calendars. And some other things I want to share. If you are not getting communication from GAE in terms of emails, even snail mails from time to time, if you will go, I just put the link in the chat, and it says GAE.org update. And you can go through, and even if you think your information is correct, please go there and put in your information. It's better to have it in there a couple times rather than not be getting things at all. And one of the things that you should be getting is the GAE Voices. And it came out earlier this week. And tonight will be GAE Facebook Live, and you can see that the guest speaker is Representative Ken Vance, who is a former educator and GAE member. So to get to Facebook Live, always you go to the Facebook page and put in a / and GAE President, that's Lisa's page, and you can join Facebook Live that way. Joe already mentioned the GAE Day at the Capitol, and I want to go through and just share some other information that came out in the GAE Retired in the Loop, which comes out at least once a month, if not more. And we've already closed. Okay. So let me go. Sorry for scrolling too quickly on this. Okay, Lunch Bunch, GAE, Red for Ed. I'm wearing red today. There's going to be an Aspiring Ed conference this week in Athens. Just you could share that if you had anyone in who actually is an aspiring educator. And our aspiring educators used to be called our student GAE members, but we've updated to be in line with NEA's AE program. If you want to submit any amendments to the GAE Retired Constitution and Bylaws, there's a link in the GAE news. GAE Retired in the Loop. You can read our Constitution and bylaws. It's pretty fascinating. And it is fascinating on a number of levels. So if you want to submit an amendment, please do. We're promoting GAE Retired Day at the Capitol. The NEA National Leadership Summit this year, registration's open. It's in Chicago, the beginning of March. And that's always followed currently by our NEA Retired Conference. So again, we'll be in Chicago. I'm going to skip that one for now. We are having an upcoming business meeting on March 8th. That's the date that the next GAE Board of Directors meeting will happen. And so again, you can go through and register and click on this to register for that. Lisa Underwood, GAE retired member, attends, as do several others of us, the TRS Retirement System of Georgia board meetings, and her reports are excellent. So it really is good reading material. And you can see the TRS board meets every other month. And of course, they meet at 10:30 a.m. when the active members cannot usually attend. We are having our all-member conference on Friday, April 19th, the same place that the GAERA will be, the Renaissance Concourse Atlanta Hotel. So the all-member conference is open to everyone. We are asking people to register, so we have some idea numbers as the planning goes forward. And if you would like to run for an NEA retired position, You can click on this information and take a look. You can run as a governance candidate, as Doris Glover did last year. She's up in DC as a NEA retired alternate director. And then you can run for resolutions committee. There is a link to what happened at the last GAE board meeting. Your three at-large retired directors are Tony Smith, Brenda Montgomery, and Sandra Hawthorne. So please reach out to them if you have anything GAE you would like discussed at board meetings. We also put in place that between now and the close of the RA, if you would like to win a $50 gift card, recruit a pre-retired or retired member and put your recruitment efforts. There's a Google link here, and you just put down who you are and the name of the person you recruited and send their application on to GAE, and we'll do a drawing, and $50 will buy some Starbucks, I hope. And we have that up. And Books and Bears, we have done this initiative at the GAE Representative Assembly for several years now. It's win-win. I'm not sure you should bring any children's books, since these will be given to elementary schools in the area that have been banned or that have been the subject of controversy. But please bring books and your teddy bears or any other kind of stuff, animals, and we usually try to select individual or select schools whose media specialists are GAE members. So this is a great opportunity to go through and just give back to the community. We have one last pre-retirement seminar that's happening in April, at the end of April. They are via Zoom. They're on Saturday morning, so hopefully most people nearing retirement can attend. Even if you want to attend as a retired member, please do. We have speakers talking about the various topics there, including the GPO WEP, and we have someone from the Social Security Administration talking to us, a representative from TRS, and then we do a legal segment about documents you should have in your hip pocket or in order as we do age and become older. And that is all I have to share right now. I believe Linda Wolf-Smith wanted to share also. And before she does anybody have any questions for me?
Yes, I have just one question, and it's a personal one. Listen, yesterday, Patrick gave some good information out in reference to talking points that you had given him. I'd like to get that information, if it's possible, from you or from Patrick, because I believe Patrick still is on this morning. How do I go about getting that information?
I think you just did. Patrick has said that he will send out the PowerPoint yesterday that he showed at our GAE Retired Day at the Capitol. And so I'm on his to receive list. So Patrick, I'm hoping you're hearing this, and Alton, when I get it, I will forward it to you if he hasn't already.
Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And tell Patrick I like him in his hat rather than in his bald head.
Thank you, Alton. Any other questions before Linda shares? Linda, you are on.
Good morning, everyone. I want to I just want to say first of all how great it is to see the numbers that are here today. I can remember when Lunch Bunch started, and the numbers continue to grow every year. So this whole initiative is very vital. Thanks to Karen and Sandra for pushing forward. I am on the legislative committee, and as a result of 2 grants that we received in the last 4 years from NEA, we have been able to become activists for seniors who live in senior living facilities and in our community regarding the voting process. As a result of Senate Bill 202, suppression has really affected senior citizens. What we are asking is that anyone that would like to join us around the state to assist seniors in making sure their vote is counted and are not able to get to the voting places, we are there to help. And I'm going to place my my email and my phone number in the chat. And if you want to help, we train you first. We just don't send you out. And I want you to mark the 13th, 12th or 13th of February on your calendar. Everyone needs to go and check their voter status, whether you think it's accurate or not, because as a result of the map changes and the district changes, you may have a different legislator, but you won't know unless you check. I don't think the Secretary of State is sending out notice and say, hey, you got a new rep. You just have to be proactive and find out yourself. So thanks again, Karen, for all you do. And I'm gonna give me a minute to put my my email in the chat. And thank you guys for everything.
Thank you, Linda, for your information.
All righty.
And thank you, Linda, for everything you're doing. You have the passion in your belly, so to speak, about this. And you did mention, I'm just double checking that lovely handout that you sent to me. The last day to register to vote, to have your voice heard in the presidential primary, is February 12th. So Linda is quite right in terms of, please go on the Secretary of State's website to make sure that you really are still in the on the rolls. And I'm going to put the My Voter page link in the chat, and it should take just a moment to go through and do that. And could I encourage you to do that today or as soon as possible? Because if you're not on the rolls, you want to be. We all want to have a voice in the upcoming election cycle.
That's so right, Karen. Not that you were wrong, but that's so vital because this won't be the last time to request the absentee ballot, and the dates change as the different types of elections move forward. I wanted to ask you to put that calendar up, but we're working on it as a part of the grant to at least get every member one of those palm cards, as we call it, to send out to our members. And when you get it, copy it on your computer and send it out to whomever, so everyone will know that this is really a serious election. All elections are serious, I agree, but this one is really vital for the welfare of seniors in particular in our community and democracy. Thank you so much again, Karen.
You are so welcome, Linda. And I just sent, give me just a second, I'm waiting for this to load again. Linda's group, and I'm not quite sure who did this, did an excellent graphic that is not coming through at this point in time. I'll have to go through and put it in another communications vehicle, Linda.
Okay.
But it has,
the group is Seniors Reaching Seniors, and our partner in this is a member, Gloria Jenkins, and we just met at IHOP with the group of 8 people, and this event was sponsored by GenCare. So, you know, the saying goes, if you build it, they will come. And GAE really is the only professional organization for educators in this state that is so thorough and so driven. I got snatched up 40, 50 years ago, I don't know. And here we sit today along with some more leaders. So because of you, because we are so worthy. And Karen, how much is TRS worth today? I mean, how much do we have accessible to?
I'd have to go look at the link, but we are better than we were a year ago. TRS is not losing money, and anybody who says that it's not 100% funding is speaking the truth, but it is funded better than most other state retirement plans, and we are not going belly up. So don't let them say that to you at any point in time.
Get ready to see the word billion when you look at our assets. So we live and die by this history of sustainability. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome. And we are almost at the end of our hour together. I want to thank you so much, everyone, for being here. For those of you who shared, thank you so much. And please join us on the first Wednesday of almost every month. We're going to make a couple of adjustments in the summer with the 4th of July, etc. But read your communications from GAE and GAE Retired. Reach out to me if you have any questions, and have a lovely day. Thank you for all you do and have done for public education. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
my Shiro. Thank you,
You're
my Shiro.
welcome, y'all. Thank you, Alton.